Welcome back to the Cat's Tail. In this video, we're looking at a simple but important concept: denying elemental reactions. This is, in a way, the opposite side of the coin from triggering elemental reactions, the second video in this series. So go have a look at that video first if you haven't already. The idea is that, even as you are trying to trigger reactions, your opponent is trying to do the same. Stopping your opponent from triggering their reactions could save you the critical HP which decides the game. 90% of the time, the only way you have to deny elemental reactions is by swapping character. If your opponent, playing for example a Quicken deck, has just swapped to their Electro Element character, then swapping off a character with a Dendro Aura already applied could deny their Quicken reaction and make all their future plays weaker. An especially important example is Swirl. If your opponent is about to deal Anemo damage, you really want to make sure that you can swap to a character without an element aura if possible, since the Swirl reaction is very strong and Anemo damage won't even leave an aura if it doesn't trigger a reaction. Often, against decks which revolve around lots of summons, you might find yourself facing one or more elements applied by summons at the end of the turn. The key thing to remember is that the summons will trigger in the order they were created, which is the same order as they are displayed in the summon zone. You may be able to get the first one to waste a reaction by ending your turn at the right time. One card which can help deny reactions from summons is Send Off, which allows you to remove 2 uses from an opponent's summon. Wait to use this at the end of your turn against critical summons which are enabling reactions. You don't want to just fire it off at the first summon you see. There is one other way some decks can deny elemental reactions: by using skills which apply an element to your own character, such as Xingqiu or Barbara. An elemental reaction triggered this way won't cause damage, so a skilled player can use this tactically to effectively cleanse auras. Be aware though that Bloom and Freeze, when triggered, can still lead to negative effects. You don't always want to be spending dice and turns to deny elemental reactions, but it's something you should be considering on every turn of the game. It's best to say it explained through some actual examples, however, so let's launch into some games. Okay, let's start off with this example, playing against a Shunhe double Anemo deck. It's really important, especially against this deck, to deny their reactions. Now, a very useful card in this matchup is Send Off, and this matchup is the main reason I played 2 Send Off in this deck. So the first step in denying their reactions is just to send off the summon from Shunhe's Burst, and now I'm going to swap to Nahida. At this point, opponent wants to switch to Anemo characters, but crucially, they can't Swirl Cryo off Nahida currently. If the Anemo attack doesn't Swirl Cryo, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't even leave an aura. Now, opponent here will use their Cryo skill on Shunhe, which is like scary because now all of our characters have Cryo aura. I won't be able to deny their next Swirl reaction, but they won't have time to work towards another Shunhe burst. It's still a very scary situation though, since opponent can deal a lot of AoE damage here. Thanks to Shunhe's Icy Quills, each swirl will do a total of 7 damage to my characters. Now, opponent does end up on Sucrose here after Shunhe dies, and I'm fully expecting opponent to be using their elemental skill to trigger a swirl on Sucrose, and we'll see, in this case we can't avoid it, exactly how powerful that can be. So here we go. Shunhe's Quills give all of his swirls plus 2 damage, which means this is dealing a total of 7 damage to my characters, and pushes us to Raiden. So Raiden has got a Cryo Aura on her, but how can I deny his second reaction? Well, using a Lotus Script to absorb some damage, swapping to Nahida. Now, I'm spending dice and turns to do this, but there's no way for him to Swirl Cryo here if I keep swapping back to Nahida every single turn. This also makes it hard for opponent to infuse cryo onto his elemental burst, which would be strong for him, because that then converts it to cryo damage, which would allow opponent to keep getting more sources of cryo damage to swirl with. So opponent's just going to be forced to use his normal elemental skill again here, but not trigger a swirl again. And we're at the point here where any swirl on our on-field characters would kill our Nahida off-field anyway. Now, opponent only has 2 dice left. They could use the Resonance card to get another one. They've already used 9 Anima Omni dice this turn. They did play Stone and Contracts last turn for 3 of those. It's unlikely that they can use an Anima ability this turn, but we don't necessarily have to risk it. And anyway, opponent, if they're going first next turn, would just be able to swirl off our active character anyway. So it's still going to be really important for us to switch back to Nahida. Even if opponent can kill Nahida with a skill, well, she's not dying for free off field. It's fine to sacrifice Nahida here, especially with the I haven't lost yet cards left in our hand. So in this situation, we are going to lose our Nahida with 2 energy on her, but that's going to happen no matter what. The opponent's going to be able to go first next turn, but we can heal up our highest health character to play around the AoE damage from his swirls in the future, because at this point it's just going to be about making sure that we can keep our characters alive for long enough to deal the damage we need to. We've denied in that turn alone 3 swirl reactions, which could have done potentially 5 to 10 damage with the help of those icy quills, which would have left our team here almost dead. But in this situation, having played around it, we're able to actually have some fairly healthy characters left over at the end, with some fairly strong bursts still, and close out the game fairly decisively in the end. And the health left on our characters is just 7 health. That could have easily been dealt just with 2 swirl reactions if opponent had triggered them earlier. But it ends up closing out as a win. Here we have another example of where we can get advantage by denying opponent's elemental reactions. In this situation, we're playing against a quickened team based around the reaction between Electro and Dendro, and opponent's only source of Electro currently is Guy's Summon, which will deal Electro damage at the end of the turn. Now, we have a pretty obvious reason we'll play just using Nahida's skill, which should take out one of his characters, and that would be a decent play if we didn't have a better one available to us. Now, Quicken Team is very much based around the strength of the Catalyzed reaction. Catalyzed reaction being one which allows him to gain extra damage as long as he's triggered a reaction between Dendro and Electro. But if you can shut this team off their reaction between Dendro and Electro, it makes it a lot harder for them. And in fact, in this situation, the Electro application only comes from this summon, and I guess Yaya's normal attack, which is a much weaker option for opponent. So they probably won't be able to, if this Sessho Sakura is removed, apply Electro until the end of their next turn, until the end of their turn 3, by which point the game will almost be decided. So while using the Nahida skill is a possible play here, we can gain an advantage by instead using our send-off to remove his Sessho Sakura and ending our turn before opponent is able to as well, gaining a turn advantage for one of the later turns in the game, which will put us in a good position going forward. Scenario will die anyway to our summon, which we can predict since the opponent had 0 dice available, and now we'll get the chance to go first and immediately trigger a burning reaction and put our Nahida in a very strong position to do a lot of damage on this turn. And we have been able to this. First, we got first, which means you can continue on. Advantage, and the first after the other point again.
Painful ending.
Quick example here of denying elemental reactions. In this situation, thanks to the Shunha Icy Quill, opponents Swirl from either their characters here will deal 2 damage to all off-field characters. Without any food in my hand, that means a Swirl on either my Xiangling or Raiden Shogun will just kill my Nahida for free. So, even though I know she'll be guaranteed to die, the best play here is undeniably to switch to Nahida and allow that to happen. This effectively forces the opponent to use 3 dice, do something that he would have done for free otherwise, and it labels my I haven't lost yet to get this critical Xiangling burst active. Now, still a dicey situation, but with a bit of careful planning to make his breakpoints a bit awkward. In this case, making sure I can charge up the extra energy on my critical character Raiden Shogun here. Arguably a misplay, by the way, not to tune and use the skill. Would have actually been better. But key idea here is Xiangling surviving. Will mean I will still have my very powerful Raiden's Burst available for this next turn against his single high health character. So if he hadn't sacrificed the Nahida much earlier, we'd already have been dead at this point. As it is, we can catch a very close win, which would have been less close if I had used the summon instead of the normal attack last time. A quick fun example here of denying elemental reactions. In this game, our Xiangling with Cryo Aura is attacked by his Nahida with Dendro Aura additionally as well. Now, since these auras don't react together, that's why you wouldn't necessarily usually build a deck like this. They both exist on Xiangling together, and if an Electro Aura is applied, I don't even actually want to think about what's going to happen. Certainly, we'd have some Seether Scander damage and a lot of damage on Xiangling. So let's just, strand these 2 auras by swapping off Xiangling and never coming back to her if at all possible. So I'm just going to try and leave this character off field and deny opponent effectively 2 auras simultaneously there.
Emerge.
The longer we can do that for, the less value you can get out of Seether Scander, the better it's going to be for us. And in the end we got there, never swapping back to our Xiangling one time. We have here a situation where it might not be correct to use cards and actions to deny an opponent an elemental reaction. So in this situation, if I pass turn on Nahida, Nahida will take a large amount of damage, and specifically it will allow opponent to trigger 2 electro charge reactions with Electro on Hydro and then Hydro on Electro, and that will then trigger all these Seether Scander to deal a large amount of damage to my team. Now, removing all the skills standard isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it makes it hard for opponent to apply new ones. They would have to use Nahida's 5 cost burst to apply them to my whole team. But also, I really want to make sure I can go first with Nahida on next turn, so I can actually get a lot of value out of using Nahida's skill, since I'd expect the official to be left with a Pyro Aura on her, which would then let me spread more seeds and trigger a very valuable Pyro reaction. So there are some very good reasons to stay on Nahida here. And a final very good reason is I can get efficient use out of this Lotus Flower Crisp and prevent 3 of that damage that could threaten my Nahida. And then maybe even back up Nahida with more food next turn if needed. So in order to gain that turn priority, expecting to gain that reaction potential next turn, I will just end turn on Nahida using the Lotus Flower Crisp rather than switching to Xiangling and potentially denying one of those electro charge reactions, which was my other option. So as we let this play out quickly, you see a lot of damage has been dealt and my team is now on much lower health, but we should have the plays in a moment to make up for that. Make sure he's playing ahead, and obviously there's going to be a cost and a reward to executing any of these strategies. So here I'm also going to take into account the breakpoint of opponent using their 4 cost elemental burst on their own Nahida, which they could use if they have I haven't lost yet after I used my own Nahida skill here. So I apply several more seeds of Scanter, which I will be able to keep stacking up as I continue my turn by playing Nahida's talent card. Once I have the right dice to cast it, come on, let's get some Dendro dice, please. Alright.
Make yourselves at home.
Not water, too.
There we go. I'm fully expecting opponent to maybe have I haven't lost yet, and to kill my Nahida with Oceanid Burst, allowing me to swap to Xiangling here, which is why I kept the Pyro die. But in this situation it ends up being fairly straightforward. Opponent will be in their turn. So again, I have complete information here. Look at all these Hydro and Electro summons. Well, let's do a quick counter breakpoint. This one isn't going to trigger. So 2 lots of Hydro for 3 damage, and then the Electro will kill my Nahida. Let's just deny some reactions by sending off the Electro. So we're going into the last turn likely here, with still our own Caesar Scanter available, dealing a bit of damage at the end, and then 3 characters we can use to keep triggering reactions, as well as a full hand of cards we decided we didn't need to use necessarily, for example the quick swap, when we had the option to earlier. So we've still got all these options left in hand.
I see everything.
In this case it's going to be the I haven't lost yet that we've drawn
Can't wait any longer.
that decides the last moments in this game.
You're